Hello and welcome to another spooky episode of Northside NOW. This is the podcast where your mischievous hosts take you on a tour through all of the ministries and the strange happenings around Northside Church. I'm one of your spooktacular hosts, Patrick, and with me as always are my co-hosts, the bone-chilling Glenn Miller and the hair-raising Kevin Bryant. Hello. What's up, guys? How are we feeling today?
Spooky.
Spooktacular.
Hair-raising.
We're getting closer and closer to Halloween.
I know.
All Hallows Eve.
I like how Halloween sort of turned into just like a whole month long.
For us, at least,
Yeah.
it has. Yes.
Well, I know a lot of people, too. And I think as many people decorate for Halloween, if not more, than Christmas sometimes.
Yeah, it's...
Do you think they decorate more for Halloween or fall?
Oh,
Ooh.
some people it's definitely Halloween.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think so.
I drove by one person's house the other day and they have like this full like, I don't know, like funeral scene set up in their front yard with skeletons and skeleton horse and buggy with like a coffin.
Wow.
in the
Is
back.
that
It's like-
movement?
yeah, and there's like lights and
yeah,
all that
yeah.
kind of
that's
fun
very
stuff.
cool.
It's pretty crazy. Some
I
people
saw-
go all out.
I saw
do.
one that had, I couldn't really see it very well because it wasn't lit up, but it had the cobweb stuff all over from the ground to the house. It looked like the house was almost in a cocoon of sorts.
Oh, wow.
And I had to do a double take because I thought, okay, is that a house in there or what it was? But they went crazy with the cobweb
To see that spider.
stuff.
Did y'all see I know they sold it last year. I'm assuming they're selling it again this year. I think Home Depot sold them, but it was like a 12 or 15 foot tall skeleton that you could put out in your, like it was
Yeah.
taller than people's houses.
Yeah, I have seen
Oh,
that.
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
They have a whole bunch of skeleton stuff this year, right? Like
Yeah.
skeleton dogs and skeleton.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you buy a
kinds of
skeleton
stuff.
that's 12 feet tall, what do you do with that the rest of the year? Like,
Good
you got to
point.
put that somewhere.
It's in your attic or something.
Or do you just like leave it out there and dress it up for every other holiday?
Some people on the street next to us, we see it when we walk the dog. They have one of those, that projects up on the house.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a big old eye. This monster eye is on their house.
Does it
now.
like blink and look around and stuff?
a little, but not
'Cause that would be
not just a
crazy.
whole. It is kind of cool.
But
looking.
I tell you though, that is actually a major business.
oh yeah,
Projections
yeah, it's really grown.
into buildings and houses, and they'll go through all this major CGI
Yeah.
stuff to put together the scene or the storyline. It's almost like a film, and then they put multiple projectors up and stitch them together so that it looks like the house is actually
Yeah.
going through something. So for example, on a garage door, right? So if your garage door is light colored, it would take a projection really well.
Yeah.
So if you project the garage door with a garage door and then have the garage door open and stuff come out of it and all that kind of stuff, it looks really pretty cool.
And they've
That's
got
pretty
some
crazy.
I've seen you put like this white sticky clear stuff, or it's real white, but it's you kind of see through it during the day. I think.
Yeah.
On your windows and stuff, and it'll do that at night too.
Yeah.
And they do it for Halloween and for Christmas. It's kind of cool. Technology has allowed us to do all kinds of fun things.
Speaking of projections, we're going to talk to Janna today, and I think she's going to talk a little bit about social media, but
Yes.
on Twitter yesterday, and I can't give proper credit because I don't remember where it came from, but it was something that showed like the pregame show for a hockey game,
Oh yeah.
and they projected, I think it was the Golden Knights and Kraken or something. I'm not a huge hockey fan, so
Yeah.
those of you out there, make sure you correct me. But they showed the video, and all the ice was projected on, and it looked like there was a Kraken monster coming up from under the
that's
ice.
cool.
And then they had a skater come out. It was a Golden Knight
Yeah.
come to the center of the hockey rink, and then that space turned red, and it like shot out like magic beams or whatever it was, and defeated the Kraken. And from up high, this is an advantage to the high nosebleed seats that you could see the whole thing. And then the Kraken was destroyed, and it went down, and
That's
it was
awesome.
so cool. I was just blown away by it.
I want
Yeah.
to go look this video up.
Yeah, I need to find it. Maybe we can connect to it. But I was very impressed.
Well, I know what we're doing in Hope Hall next year. Let's
We used to have to
project,
think
yes.
what you could do on the gym floor because it's white like that.
Yeah,
you could
there
do
you
some
go.
cool stuff.
But the thing is, you'd have to be high enough to be able to see it.
see it.
yeah, that's the thing.
But you could do it on the walls. You could do whatever. I think that's
Yeah.
really pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah, just technology. You can do fun stuff now that you just could never do before. So,
Well, I've got it's maybe not now late breaking, but I do have some space news.
Whoa.
I'm hoping you're going to share.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
All right, let's see.
Captain Kirk went to space.
That's what I was hoping you were going to share. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been talking, well, we haven't in a while actually, but we talked earlier in the season, I guess we call it, the podcast season, about the space, all kinds of things, space. And I was just talking to a shout out to one of our listeners, Bob Sharp, we were talking about space last night, and Blue Origin is one of the kind of, I don't know, 3 or 4 companies out there that are in the news the most. SpaceX being another one, NASA, of course, and Electron is another one. But anyway, the focus is, and this is Jeff Bezos' company, their focus is on space tourism. So bringing normal people up to space. Now, what qualifies as normal is kind of the question. If you have bazillions of dollars to pay for the flight, maybe. But anyway, so William Shatner, the actor that played the original Captain Kirk,
James T. Kirk.
That's right.
90 years
he's
old.
He's 90 years old, and he's now the oldest human that's been to space.
Did you see the report that he did afterwards?
I watched it live. So if there was something else posted, I didn't probably see the edited version, but I saw the live version after, and he was very emotional.
Yeah.
And he just was really kind of speechless, although if you know William Shatner, he rarely doesn't talk. He always says something to say. But he was very emotional, and it was sort of existential in terms of, talking about the life of blue versus the death of space, and it went by so fast, and just kind of was marveling at it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things, the messages that I've heard consistently out of either Blue Origin or kind of the people that have been, is this idea of we need to take care of the earth.
Yeah.
And that was sort of his overall sort of summary statement.
Yeah.
But that's pretty amazing. At 90 years old, I know that doesn't necessarily mean that you're, frail or anything, but it is a pretty good number of years in life. And so I was rooting for everybody and everything to go well, but I was just sort of a little concerned, how would a 90-year-old do? But
did he make the rest of the crew wear red shirts?
It looks like they were. I think they were jumpsuits, but it looked almost like they had a shirt with blue jeans on. Is what it looked like.
It seemed pretty relaxed.
Okay.
Yeah,
but they're only in space for a couple minutes,
3 minutes, I think,
something like that.
3 minutes of weightlessness.
But I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I saw that report this morning as well, and I was really surprised by the amount of emotion out of him and all of them.
Oh yeah,
and everything you said, it was cool. I like that idea of being able to, especially those guys. So I guess now it's a thing of, will Bruce Willis go up? Everybody that's ever been in a space movie,
right?
Mark Hamill is he?
Yeah,
next?
Mark Hamill's next.
The guy. That'd be kind of interesting.
What do you know? They'll probably even put Tom Cruise up there.
Well, he's supposed to.
Well, Tom Cruise will go up there strapped to the outside of the rocket.
He's supposed to be filming a movie at the International Space Station,
which is what I hear. But I don't know how. Really, curious about what that's actually going to be.
Yeah. So
we all know that Tom Cruise just uses his movies as an excuse to go places and do things.
I know.
If you can, I guess.
He gets a movie studio to film his vacations.
His childhood dreams, basically. I wanted to do this one time. So, yeah. And another special shout out, someone left in our mailboxes. Patrick had mentioned something about ghosts, and I had said something about the candy corn. And so someone left some Peep ghosts and some candy corn.
Cool.
In our boxes here at the church. So thanks to our listeners for hitting us up. That's pretty cool.
The kind spirit that did that for you.
It was really fun.
They were delicious. I was going to say they gave me nourishment while I edited the last episode of the podcast, but nourishment may not be the right word when it comes to Peeps. I mean, it was sugary marshmallow goodness.
Yeah.
So, but maybe I'm not clear. They were candy corn Peeps?
Oh, no. I got the Peeps
and
that were
corn.
shaped like ghosts, and he got the candy corn.
Because I couldn't find the autumn mix candy corn, and they found some for me.
I got you.
So,
I
pretty
got
cool.
you.
Pretty cool. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
And while we're giving shout outs, hey, Cora, how are you? And Janna's going to come up soon, so let's give her a holler. So we're here today with Janna Johnson, our new administrative assistant here at Northside, and welcome to the team, Janna.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And she even found the podcast room all on her own. That's pretty good, because you've only been here, 2 months now?
Oh, no. I think I've been here, maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay. All right.
Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right. That's right.
She does have a really wonderful talents, and one of those is cooking chocolate and doing chocolate things.
Oh, my.
So,
Yeah, she brought some chocolate-covered Oreos to the staff meeting last week,
They were
and
amazing.
changed my life.
All
So
right.
Now,
I'm
we
glad
were
you
talking
liked
about
it.
this a few weeks ago. Now, did we determine, and I apologize for my memory, so are you a chocolatier?
I guess you could call it that. I like that. It has a nice ring to it. I just picked up a hobby last year. You know, like I'm an empty nester now, so I've got time on my hands. And so I just started dipping things in chocolate. I started with cake pops. I watched tutorials during the
Those were good,
snowstorm
too.
last year. Oh, that was so fun. So yeah, I started dipping cake pops, and then it turned into chocolate dipped Oreos and Buckeyes and pretzels, and I just dip all kind of things.
I like to dip things in chocolate too, but I've never thought about turning it into I've never thought about monetizing it.
Yeah,
turning it into a business.
Hey,
And you, was it the Chocolate Cove?
the Chocolate Cove. Yeah.
All right. Is it like you live on the Chocolate Cove?
Yes, I live in the Chocolate Cove.
So she's the first staff member we've had that lives in Candyland.
That's right. It's great.
So, so you just kind of started that on the side, though, right?
I did. Mm-hmm.
Cool. So, where did you grow up? Where are you originally from? Is West Tennessee your home? Or
Oh, yeah.
All
I'm
right.
from a little town called Macklemoresville.
Okay.
And most everybody says, where is that? And it is literally halfway between Milan and Huntingdon. And we actually have a celebrity from Macklemoresville. Some of you folks from the 80s might remember her from Designing Women, Dixie Carter,
Absolutely.
Julia Sugarbaker.
Yeah.
So, yep, she's our hometown celebrity.
Now, is that right on 70? Is that
It
right?
is.
Because I was oddly enough, just driving through there because I had a soccer game in Huntington at the high school.
Oh, yeah.
So did you go to high school in Huntington?
No, actually, they had a high school. They consolidated several of the communities in West Carroll County, and so I went to West Carroll.
West Carroll, okay.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
my alma mater. Yep, and so, but my husband and I have been in Medina for 11 years, so, but that's where I'm from originally, Macklemoresville.
Okay, cool. Now, did you go to college in
I did.
West Tennessee, or did you?
Bethel University, I'm an alumni. Yep. So
Wildcats.
that's right.
Were you in Renaissance or anything like that? Did they have any of those fun things?
No, my daughter was in Renaissance. She had a scholarship to Bethel and did the Renaissance program, and she was great. She's done so many musicals. She's my theater kid. But no, I actually did not go to Bethel until 2010, and I graduated in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
All right, cool. So you came to us. Where were you at before you came to Northside? Were you at the Co? Is that where you were working, or?
No, I was actually at Personnel Placements.
Oh, okay. All right. Personnel. I knew you knew like Ben Ferguson.
Oh,
and
yeah.
them, so.
Yep, I was a
Cool.
recruiter and managed an account. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Until she recruited herself.
Right.
That's a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, no better way.
It's unbelievable how that all fell into place. It
That's
really is.
cool.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what your duties are here at Northside. You kind of took Jim Stillwell's desk or spot, but I think you and Patrick are going to be sharing some of those duties and different stuff. So tell us, and so when people call, they'll probably get you on the phone as well. So everybody listening, get used to hearing her voice because you'll get to hear it when you call the church.
Oh, yeah.
But tell us a little bit more about what your duties are here at the church.
Well, yeah, I'm at the desk, so I'm greeting people when they come in and out. There's a lot of people coming for appointments or meetings or, volunteering at the church and what have you. And there's always something going on, whether it's a prayer meeting or a Bible study or, getting ready for a charity event or something. So I'm there at the front desk. But yeah, I am answering the phones and I am helping with the calendar for the church. And I am booking rooms for people, and I am also working with Patrick on social media. We're trying to develop a plan on that so we can have a presence on social media since that's kind of a big deal nowadays.
Yes.
So that, and I assist the different pastors, and just doing, office work. So
cool.
Yeah.
She also brought some decorations in and kind of set up.
She did,
made it look nice in there.
Just wait till Christmas.
I love being festive, so too many decorations is not a thing. So.
All right, good deal. Good to know.
We're getting ready to. I talked to a couple people already about whipping out the nativities here soon.
Okay.
So we'll be.
That's kind of a big deal around here, isn't it?
It is a big deal. Yes, I told Janna we're gonna make her day whenever it gets around to throwing the nativities out.
How many are we up to now? 4 or 5 million?
Yeah,
nativities.
Like
Something like that.
We have like 4 million Jesuses running around Northside.
Hey, we had someone that donated a nativity set last week.
Yeah.
Elaine, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cute.
I forgot to look at that. You told me about it, but I forgot to stop and gander at it. But yeah, so she has decorated it. It looks good up there. So pretty fun stuff. Pretty fun. So, do you come from a Methodist background, or did you?
Nope, not at all.
Non-denominational church, or?
Well, my dad, he was Methodist all of his life. My mom was Primitive Baptist, and somehow they became Assemblies of God. So
Okay.
I don't know how that happened, but it did. So I was raised Assemblies of God, but my husband and I go to a non-denominational church.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, good. Well, we are definitely glad to have you here on staff, and so you will be seeing Janna when you come in the office, and it won't take you long because she's pretty perky, as y'all can tell. she's definitely brought a new life to the office area, and besides bringing some of that chocolate that we talked about, and so that was really a good deal too. So,
I love the Keurig. I'm glad we have a lot of coffee on hand. We need it sometimes.
Coffee helps.
In the afternoons.
And you warned us about your crazy blender machine, but I haven't heard it.
You haven't? Yeah, I haven't been using it as much. Once in a while, I have to have a protein shake. So
yeah, she sent the staff this whole big long email about like, if you hear this thing coming out of the kitchen, it's just my blender. Don't everyone come running and all this. And I was like, okay.
Well, it's cheap and it's loud.
All right.
So
well, I didn't know if it was like
drilling.
Hey, as long as it works.
I didn't know if it was like souped up, like with a
Vitamix or
had like a chainsaw motor on it or something.
It's like a leaf blower in there.
Right.
So, well, good. Well, we're definitely excited to have you here, and welcome to Northside, and we look forward to all the help with the social media stuff as well. You've already been doing some of that stuff.
Oh yeah, I've been on social media since 2008. I remember when Twitter first came out, and I signed up first thing, and I was telling people I'm on Twitter, and they're like, "What the heck is Twitter?" I mean, it's like, what? I'm like, well, you get on there, and whatever you're doing, you can post what you're doing. They're like, well, that sounds boring. Here we are now, and it's like,
it's not going to last. It's just
it's a fad.
That's odd.
It's really funny too, because we found out that our kids all went to the same school, but they were at different age levels, so they weren't in classes together or anything like that, I don't think. So, so it's kind of a small world, big world kind of thing going on around here for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, once again, welcome to Northside. And if y'all call the church, you'll get a chance to speak with Janna. And we're glad that she's here. But Janna, we do something with everybody before you get to run. And so we do this thing called 3 for 30. Okay. So you have 30 seconds to answer these questions. First thing that pops to your head.
I thought we renamed it Quick Draw McGraw.
Yeah.
Okay.
See? And that's the thing.
Elephant never forgets.
Yeah. It's the old Quick Straw McGraw.
Okay.
You know who Quick Draw McGraw is, don't you?
No clue.
No clue?
Yeah, I'm not alone.
Oh, man.
Who's Quick Draw McGraw?
He was Hanna-Barbera, and he was the really tall white horse. and he had the little donkey. That had a sombrero.
Oh, never mind. I lied. I know who Quick Draw McGraw is.
Yeah, and he was like, he always had like the really funny. I can't remember which one, if it was Hannah or Barbera who voiced him, but yeah, really.
I remember that.
That's old school.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember his voice. Was he cloning?
Kind of Rocky Bullwinkle, kind of Bullwinkle-ish.
Mr. Edish.
Yeah, Mr. Edish. But
Gotcha.
all right. So, who is your favorite Bible character?
I guess I'll go with Esther.
Esther. Oh, that's a good one. Good
Excellent
one.
choice.
Favorite book in the Bible?
Probably Proverbs.
Very good. Very good. And favorite story, like your favorite story in the Bible, maybe from childhood or just it's the one that you just love to hear the most.
Oh, I love to hear the Christmas story, Luke chapter 2.
Oh, good ones. Those are good ones.
Yeah, good answers. Good
And
answers.
those were a little bit different too than some of the other normals. You know, it took us a long time till we got someone who finally said their favorite character was Jesus.
Right.
Oh, he was pretty good too.
Yeah. But nobody, I mean, just no one ever thinks about that, I guess. I guess you don't think of Jesus as a character.
It's kind of a given, you know.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want to say he's my second favorite character.
Yeah, really.
That would be kind of hard.
That would be weird. So, all right. Well, thanks, Janna. And we will, you'll be talking with her soon. And we're glad you found the podcast room.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for having me. Y'all have fun, and I'll be checking y'all out and listening to your podcast.
Yay.
All right.
And I really cannot share with y'all enough of how good that chocolate is that she made.
oh, I know.
It was good.
I'm actually hungry right now. I need to have a little bit of
Yeah.
that.
She's been doing a fabulous job on the social media as
Yes,
well.
definitely.
So everybody keeps giving me credit, but basically all I did was say, "Hey, Janna, help me out." So
Well, and I've worked in marketing for a long time in my past lives, and it really does take someone who just sort of gets that to be good at it, right? And it is a lot of work to actually for a organization to coordinate, to plan it, to make sure that this picture is this particular asset or picture that's going to go with it is correct and when's all that scheduled. And, it's enough for each one of us individually to manage when you have someone else helping for a organization. That's a lot.
Content creation is a job in and of itself. So.
Yeah. So hats off to her. I'm glad she's here.
A good job and a great addition to the team. So, yeah, Janna's nice to have her here. For sure. Well, Patrick, we promised everybody we would look into a new topic today in Paranorma.
Yes.
Northside
Well, before
Activity.
we get to that, though, can we talk about last time?
All right.
Has anybody, I guess for those people out here just listening to this the first time, go back and listen to it. This is a challenge to you. So you said something that I have actually never watched.
What's that?
You mentioned this, Patrick.
Uh-oh.
The Patterson-Gimli.
Oh, the Patterson-Gimlin film.
I've always Gimlin.
Yeah.
Gimli is like a character in
That's Lord of the Rings. We talked about that last week too a little bit.
I'm getting all my stuff confused, but I never actually watched the thing.
Yeah.
And I've only seen the frame of it. That's the most famous frame.
Yeah.
But then they also talked, I dug into it a little bit more, and they were talking about how they followed it for, a period of time afterwards. They took cast molds of all this stuff, and it was just fascinating. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up or go back and listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
You just never know what you're going to hear on the podcast. I think that's exciting.
Never know when Daryl's going to show up. Step into a Slim Jim.
Now we can continue. Go
Harry
ahead.
and the Hendersons.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today's episode, let's gather around the campfire. Everybody got their marshmallows? We got our marshmallow peeps?
Yes.
Today we're going to talk about witches and witchcraft. Oh, that was pretty good.
That was a good one. Like you've done
For all
that
those
before.
listening, that was not an added sound effect. That was Kevin.
Yeah.
Is there something we need to know?
I would love to be a Foley artist in my next life.
So, do y'all know what a witch is?
Well, that sounds like a broad question.
I think she was the lady that tried to steal Dorothy's dog.
Or could have been Lucy.
That was the Wicked Witch.
Wasn't
yeah.
Lucy that in the Peanuts.
Oh yeah,
Probably.
Great Pumpkin.
everyone needs to be a character that is a complete contrast to their personality. Is what her line is. Yeah.
Hey, I got a joke for you.
Okay.
All right.
What do you call someone who lives with a witch?
No.
A broommate.
That's the wrong button.
Oh my gosh.
The broommate. All right, get out of here. Get out of here.
To answer your question, I mean, it doesn't have to do with Wicca.
Yes, sort of.
Okay, well, educate me.
I mean, according to the dictionary, it's
okay.
a person, usually a woman, that practices magic or sorcery.
Okay,
So,
supernatural skills and abilities and able to
that's kind of
cast spells and stuff.
now, like historically, it was someone that sold their soul to the devil for power, and witch trials and stuff go back hundreds and hundreds of years. And I
Right.
mean, they talked about witchcraft in the Bible. So
Now, I think I remember being told as a kid that a witch was a girl and a warlock was a guy. But is that correct?
that has sort of evolved over time.
Okay.
Because you look at like the Salem witch trials, 5 of the people that were killed in that were men, but they were still considered witches. And thanks to things like Harry Potter, it's sort of become witch and wizard is sort of the
Okay.
So all of that is sort of, those are accepted terms, but men can be witches too, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
I think this is an interesting topic. I mean, it does still flow from this idea of spirit world, supernatural that we've talked about a little bit here already. We know that it's a part of existence. The Bible talks about it quite a few places. And of course, the Holy Spirit is a key cornerstone of our faith. And
Or the Holy Ghost.
Holy Ghost.
As,
Yes,
John Wesley called it.
That's right. And, you know, that Jesus is alive and yet we can't see him and how that enters into things.
And, you know, right here in Tennessee, we have our own sort of witch story. Well, it's called a witch. The Bell Witch, which a lot of people may be somewhat familiar with. That was actually more of a haunting or a demon oppression type situation. It wasn't an actual witch, but that's just an example of how back in the day, throughout history, a lot of times the term witchcraft or witch could refer to anything in the supernatural or paranormal, you know, or the spiritual, whatever. So a lot of times when you're reading, and I think John Wesley in his quote, when he talked about the giving up of witchcraft is in essence giving up the Bible, is more the giving up of supernatural, or the giving up of the spiritual.
Yeah, and that's what my sense was too when he was referring to that, is that you can't deny the power of the Spirit, because if you do, then the whole conversation around Jesus and Holy Spirit, Holy Ghost, whatever, doesn't really make sense. So that's what I was thinking about too.
Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting little, because that's right here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
The Bell Witch. So, but common misconception, not an actual witch.
And this idea of, we talked about it a little bit, Rev Kev talked about, are the ghosts real?
Yeah.
We talked about that and what we think about that, and various folks would present different evidence for that or the lack thereof to debunk it. So I'm interested to hear a little bit more about it. It is interesting to me. But I do generally, when you say that, I generally think of a Halloween costume.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
we can thank Wizard of Oz for that.
Right.
Because
exactly.
up until that point, so Christianity, in a sense, is a story of good versus evil. And throughout history, witches have kind of been seen as the evil to the good of Christianity, because they supposedly got their powers from the devil and they used it to, torment people and all this kind of stuff. So even as far back as like in Exodus, there's a passage, what is it? Exodus 22:18 that says, "Do not allow a sorceress to live." Or the King James Version says, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." So, so that was seen as sort of the evil to Christianity's good. But I think we need to remember the supremacy of the power of Christ over the power of the world and darkness. And, But witchcraft was a feared thing up until really the early 20th century when it started changing in people's minds. And the Wizard of Oz had a lot to do with that. That was the first time there was a witch portrayed sort of with that green skin, and which the only reason they did it was to show off their new Technicolor movie capabilities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, but that sort of stuck in people's brains, and then that introduced the idea of the good witch, as well. And then it sort of evolved throughout history, and you get, over time, it has become more innocuous. That's the word.
It's not dangerous. It's not, it's innocuous.
No. But then you start getting, further into pop culture, and you get things like the White Witch in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. You get all the, we talked about Tolkien and all of the
Hansel and
magic
Gretel.
in there. Yeah, the witches. Yeah. But see, those were
Macbeth.
old, like German story. Hansel and Gretel was an old, like German story to keep kids from wandering out of the woods because there were witches in the woods, and you wanted to keep the kids away from the witches. The first time I was really aware that there was some controversy there, because I grew up, like I said, with Wizard of Oz and, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and things like that. But it was when Harry Potter came out when I was a kid. And that was the first time I remember people getting like upset about it. Because, I'd seen like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and things like that on TV.
Right.
But it wasn't until Harry Potter came out that people started like freaking out about it, and like, you can't let your kids read this. There's witchcraft in it, and we're going to all get together and burn the Harry Potter books and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I remember it well.
yeah.
I was in youth ministry for sure back then, and people did. I mean, they were beating down the doors, you know. So
and that is still, as I was doing a little bit of reading in advance of today, that still is a core component for, I guess I would say, the more maybe fundamentalist side of Christianity. Even I think there's Jesus Camp was, I think, a pseudo documentary type movie that talked about that, and why it was dangerous and what you should do with it. And it did strike a lot of kind of panic and fear in folks that this Harry Potter thing is taking over the world. And I guess regardless of how you feel about that, and you may be listening to this and thinking, yeah, well, that's exactly right. That's how I believe, witchcraft is evil. It's going to take over the world, and we need to burn those books or whatever it is. But it's interesting to me that one of the more popular fantasy series in history, the Narnia series, was written by the devout Christian C.S. Lewis. And what was in that story? Magic was in that story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of times it's the conversation that I've heard is that witches are, they're unnatural because they use magic, or they're saying that magic is not, real. And so it does get connected with, I guess, Satan and the powers of darkness. But, there was magic talked about in C.S. Lewis's books.
There's magic talked about in Scripture.
Yeah. Well, true.
So,
and I do think that's a little different than the practice of Wicca. And I've known some folks in my life, especially in college. I got to know a few people that were Wicca followers. And that's a little bit different. I mean, I know they may call themselves witches, or usually Wiccans.
yeah.
But it's it's an interesting take. They're using sort of this idea of nature and the power of nature. It's like Star Wars and the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one of like the basic tenets of Wicca is do not harm others. So I don't know a whole lot about the actual practices of all that, but
well, I mean,
I know there's some differences, but
I do think they're talking about summoning the powers of, nature, or the force, the energy that's there, and casting spells and doing things like that. Generally, from what I've heard, they don't really have a concept of Satan there. But there's obvious ways you could use magic or that force for good or evil.
Sure.
It doesn't include Christ, which is kind of a problem.
which
A real big problem. But that's what I've seen. And most of the time when those folks that I have met were not violent people.
Yeah.
They weren't trying to corrupt folks to their side of life and whatnot. But still, they're not Christ followers.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's sort of like Star Wars. The Wicca are the good guys. Then, as they are seduced by the dark side of the black magic, they become the witches, and they're the bad guys. Then, but
right. And it's interesting too. I'd love to hear Rev Kev's perspective on this here in the future. But as I recall, in the early church, I was reading something about this, that they were not as concerned about that as much because Christ had already won.
Yeah.
Not that evil didn't exist, but they were so clear on the fact that good had already won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the power of Christ.
Exactly, like what you said earlier.
In that supremacy of the power of Christ.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that makes me think in the back in the medieval period, it was heresy to even believe that witches existed.
Yeah.
So even if you did believe that they existed, you wouldn't say anything, you wouldn't write anything, because you would be killed.
Yeah.
If you even believed in witches. And that started changing 1500s maybe.
Well, I remember the Age of Enlightenment is kind of...
I think that's kind of when it started to... But I know Martin Luther in 1526, he gave some sermons on Exodus. Yeah. And apparently had a whole bit on that Exodus verse that I read earlier about not letting witches live. And he apparently over and over condoned the killing of witches. You brought up C.S. Lewis, and C.S. Lewis in his book Mere Christianity says this: 300 years ago, people in England were putting witches to death. Was that what you call the rule of human nature or right conduct? But surely the reason we do not execute witches is that we do not believe there are such things. If we really thought that there were people going about who had sold themselves to the devil and received supernatural powers from him in return, were using these powers to kill their neighbors or drive them mad or bring bad weather, surely we would all agree that if anyone deserved the death penalty, these filthy quislings did. Now, I don't know what the word quislings mean, but there is no difference of moral principle here. The difference is simply about matter of fact. It may be a great advance in knowledge not to believe in witches. There is no moral advance in not executing them when you do not think they are there. You would not call a man humane for ceasing to set mouse traps if he did so because he believed there were no mice in the house. So, on the one hand, you have Martin Luther, who was like, kill the witches. And from a couple episodes ago, I read the quote from John Wesley's journal,
right,
where he says, whether Christians know it or not, that giving up of witchcraft is in effect giving up the Bible. And now I think what he meant was giving up knowledge of the existence of witchcraft, as that proof of the invisible world. So he's saying, on the one hand, that it's proof of the Bible. Martin Luther's saying kill the witches. C.S. Lewis is like, is it moral? So Salem witch trials was a big thing in our history. People still talk about it. They make movies about it and write books about it and stuff. If those really had been witches, would the people of Salem have been justified in killing them? That was my question. We look at Martin Luther with the 95 Theses, and he sort of started the Reformation and all this kind of stuff, and as one of the pillars of the early church. And then you have C.S. Lewis, who we go to all the time. Yeah, I wish Rev Kev was in here to get his take on some of this stuff, especially with some of the scripture references I have. Now, most of those are Old Testament,
which those people
stay away from
really
those.
Been involved with.
And he's been teaching in his FAQ series about different literary devices and the different genres of the Bible, and while sometimes what it says isn't necessarily what it means and all that. And so I might have to bring this back up again with him. But
well, and I think that it is true that we view the events of our day through whatever context we're in at the moment.
Yeah.
Right. And so to me, I didn't live in that time period, but when you see this with the phenomena of riots.
Yeah.
When either certain facts or certain opinions are circulated, they can really behave like wildfire.
Sure.
And so something that may not exactly be true permeates its way through a group of people. It can cause them great fear, great urgency. And for all of us, we have a certain response to that.
Yeah.
We have a fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
And so if there was a fomentation of fear in a moment when people were either vulnerable or ripe for a particular action, that could cause a group of people who may otherwise be right-minded, so to speak, in finger quotes, to do something that might be uncharacteristic. And that's, to me, what I kind of feel like the witch trials were. Because prior to that, there wasn't a great groundswell of that activity, to me, that I know of.
There was a lot going on in Europe at the time.
Okay.
But less so in the States. And the Salem witch trials was sort of as bad as it got in the States. And like I said earlier, there were 20 people executed for being witches then. We went to Salem on our honeymoon, Elizabeth and I did. And so I did a lot of reading and a lot of research, and we talked to some people while we were up there. We went on this historic tour, and which was given by a Wiccan, and they were like, this is the history, and gave us cards that said, everything I'm saying can be fact checked. Here's the website, go fact check it. You can pull the archives. And from a lot of the reading that I'd already done, what he was saying was accurate, but it was what you were saying. A lot of the people were scared. It was an unstable time in the country. It was an unstable time for religion because there were differing ideas between the Puritans and the Quakers and just different belief systems, and the Church of England trying to come in. So people were already sort of scared and on the edge. And then when all this stuff started happening, I think a few greedy people saw it as an opportunity to stir up the fear. And it was a lot of it had to do with land grabbing.
Sure.
Because one of the first people that was, the first lady that was accused of being a witch, she had been accused of a few years before that, but her husband had been alive and was able to sort of protect her. Well, her husband had died, and the land that he had owned, all the orchards and everything, she now owned all of that land, which was a large portion of Salem, Massachusetts. And so I think these people saw it as an opportunity to say, hey, you know what? We can get that land, because if you're accused of being a witch, the authorities could take your land. And so a lot of it, you can kind of see that it was this greed that was perpetuating this fear and sort of that mob mentality.
Well, and I think that's what happened a lot in this country in its infancy, is people got over here and said, you know what? I'm kind of the biggest, baddest dude on this block. We're going to play by my rules now.
Right.
And I can use what I know to stir people up. And you know, you see things, a little bit of study on the gangs of New York and some of the different deals, like, you know, in Jamestown, and that's what happened a lot of times. And so they would kind of tweak things, and, you know, and even remembering that they came from different places in England and different places in Europe as they came here. So that, well, my understanding is, you know, so I think that's exactly what happened probably. Is people started making up their, and it's just like what we do today, right? We take a verse and this is what I mean, and now I want to
take it entirely out of context.
I'm going to do a TikTok and get, you know, 1.2 million followers to agree with me, and they're going to like it, and so therefore it's sold as fact, it's sold as gospel, it's sold as everything else. I just don't think. I think when we look back at this stuff, if we really stop and think, we're not as different as we think we are.
No, humans haven't changed that much.
Exactly.
Technology has changed, but
the stuff, it just gives us more things to play with. But the things we do with it are the same things they did when they hung Jesus on a cross. It's the same exact stuff they did with this right here. You know, he's hurt my feelings. I don't like the way he's doing it. He's dangerous to us. Let's get rid of this problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was in God's plan, but God knows how humans are going to react. And, you know, we'd like to think that we don't do that, but we do. You know, we do. It's our nature. You know, when we did Disciple Bible Study, you always start off with the human condition. That's the first thing you read every week was our human condition. And it would state the obvious human condition. And, you know, I guess just doing those Bible studies for so many years, you learned a lot about just... We're really this creature, you know, and that's all there is to it. It's interesting stuff, but it's funny how we think we're so much more advanced, but we're really, really not.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it is relevant to our current, maybe not all of our lives, but witchcraft is still practiced really strongly, especially in Africa.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, even in this country, I mean, I know there's people who will call you doing witchcraft if you're using essential oils. You know, and essential oils were part of healing for centuries from China and other places.
I've not heard that one.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
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 Because it's like making potions.
Potions and stuff.
But to your point, it extracts of plants and things.
And Eye of Newt.
Have been used. Yes, with the cauldron and the three witches at the beginning of Hamlet, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Or the three witches in
Hocus Pocus.
the Percy Jackson stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, those with the eyes.
With the fates.
One eye. Yeah,
Well, and going back to the witches thing too, you know, with Charmed and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and just different stuff, which she wasn't a witch, but you know, the 90s and early 2000s, Bewitched, even in the 70s, we tried to sexy them up a little bit, you know, and make them likable.
Right, I remember when we were in Salem, our tour guide, Jeff, grew up in Salem and talked about how when he was a kid growing up, Salem was dead. All the buildings were boarded up. They swept anything about the witch trials and everything under the rug because it was embarrassing for the city, you know. Well, when Bewitched was on TV, they went and they filmed a lot of the exterior shots for the show in Salem.
Really? I did not know that.
And so they put a statue up of, what was her name?
Elizabeth Berkeley or Elizabeth something.
Yeah, like with the moon and sitting on the broom, whatever. They put a statue in Salem and people got mad. They got so bent out of shape about this because they were like, you're making light of it. It was not a thing. But it was the turning point for Salem to start embracing the witches. And now the entire month of October is like Mardi Gras up there. Yeah. And they have they're dubbed the Witch City, and they have witches on their police cars. And, you know, like it's totally turned the place around. And there's a lot of interesting stuff up there.
Well, leave it to us humans. We're going to take anything and make money out of it.
Make money off of it. Yeah.
Good, bad, you know, whatever. It's just going to be the way it goes.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of little towns in Canada in the upper Montana and northern California and stuff that are just so happy that Hallmark discovered them. Christmas movies, you know. So. But yeah, interesting stuff. I mean, it's funny how we just take all of this and it's, you know, to me, again, it's still stuff that's fun for me to play with. You know, it's fun to talk with, you know.
Well, again,
make them
what I said at the beginning. Remember the supremacy of the power of Christ over the power of evil.
Right. And the fact is that we don't know everything.
Oh no.
And we can't know everything.
We can't know everything. There is a mystery in faith.
And there should be.
And yes, because it, you know, where it says his ways are higher than our ways. So there's always going to be, I think, a part of us that wants to know. We're going to desire to know. We're going to imagine what it is. We're going to seek it out with all of our energy and strength. But, you know, even the sun doesn't know when the day
that's right
will be when he comes. And so there's a mystery there that we just it's the mystery of faith that we have to, you know, make that leap at some point.
Yeah.
So very interesting stuff.
Cool stuff.
Very interesting.
Patrick, you're the researching man.
I find this stuff fascinating. So,
well, it is fascinating. Pretty cool stuff.
Elizabeth Montgomery.
That was her name.
I knew it was.
Yes.
Bewitched. I love that.
Which
show.
I've got a picture of my Elizabeth next to the statue of Elizabeth.
Oh, really?
In Salem, yeah. So
that's fun.
I might post that on the Instagram if anybody wants to see that.
Was that
where she wiggle her nose,
where they like recast what's his name, Darren, halfway through the show, and
there's a whole story there that
nobody
and her daughter became a witch.
Yeah.
Samantha was her name.
Samantha. Yep.
Anyways.
Well, all right. And don't forget Trunk or Treat's coming up really quick.
Yep.
So everybody come and Trunk or Treat Plus.
Yeah, October 31st, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
3 to 5.
Right here at the church.
And anything else exciting? I mean, I know we got some stuff. Just holidays are getting close and lots of.
Be on the lookout for a holiday schedule coming out soon.
Holiday schedule. And, and the new app is very close to coming out. We'll be announcing something about that very soon.
Yep. Be ready for that.
So, well, cool.
Lots of stuff happening.
Good stuff.
Well, guys, thanks for podcasting with me. And thanks to all of you out there in the world for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Instagram at Northside NOW Podcast. Go to our website, northsidejackson.com, or email us at podcast@northsidejackson.com. We hope to hear from you soon. Once again, this is Patrick.
This is Glenn.
And I'm Kevin.
And that's what's happening at Northside Now.